Oh boy, yeah. Uh-oh.
Godzilla, you buffoon! Can a guy not enjoy a cup of tea in the morning paper? Go somewhere else!
Alright, it's about time I give the Return of Godzilla some spotlight in my signature commentary style. Now, why do I feel inclined to talk about it? Well, this film in particular is reaching its 40th anniversary, and not only that, it feels like every time I go on the internet, go on YouTube for instance, there's always a new video about -1 or Shin Godzilla, but never Return of Godzilla. It's always -1, Shin, or 54, and I don't get it. Like, sure, there have been other solo Godzilla films technically, like the anime trilogy or the first American film, but Return of Godzilla deserves a spotlight, alongside Shin, -1, and of course the original film. That's why I want to talk about it here today. So sit back, relax, thank you for stopping by, and let's get into it. Now, The Return of Godzilla is the only film that Koji Hashimoto directed, and with this film, he really wanted the audience to feel empathy for Godzilla. They wanted us to feel sorry for him. I think that empathy, that emotion, really drives the core of this film, and is what sets it apart from 54, -1, and Shin. And sure, all the other films do have their own emotional core. I just think that when comparing and contrasting them, feeling sorry for Godzilla is what makes Return stand out amongst his contemporaries. And even before we get to the whole volcano tragic scene at the end, I do want to highlight that it's important to recognize that with Return and other Godzilla films that had American edits that were released a few years later, in the case of this one, it was 1985, it's still important to preserve the American cuts and to understand their importance in this franchise's history. Because you gotta understand, a lot of the Godzilla fandom, or just not even just the fandom, but just people's perception of Godzilla in general, a lot of that was shaped by American cuts a long time ago. And sure, times have changed, it's good that people can finally view the original Japanese cuts. I still want to stress that it's important to appreciate the American cuts, like 85 or the original Godzilla with the 1956 American cut. Things like that, because you never know what international release that version is going to impact someone. And that someone may just become one of your best friends in your life at some point. You never know. There's something in the way that Godzilla is able to transcend language barriers and reach all audiences. That's just the appeal of Godzilla. And I just think that the context of Return in 85 is very important, because this film, like I just mentioned, you get to really feel empathy for Godzilla himself. And that, in addition to the sheer scale that Hashimoto's directing lets you just embody with the cast, with another Goromaki. This was the second appearance of the Goromaki name in the Godzilla series. I really like his character. He's a bit more low-key, he does his part, but we get to see Goromaki with the Okumura brother and sister duo, and of course Professor Hayashida. I think that whole cast, we get to see them try to escape the whole entire confrontation of Godzilla in Tokyo is incredible. As a kid, seeing the sheer scale as Maki and Okumura are trying to survive as they're stuck in that skyscraper overlooking the battle between Godzilla, the Super X, the Maser tanks, and everything. It's just, that blew me away as a kid, and I think the score really highlights that. The score in this film, it takes less of the sort of godly theme that, say, Shin or -1 try to do. Instead of 84, it's just pure foreboding atmosphere. The atmosphere really highlights the scale of the scenes, the darkness, because it's not dark for the sake of being dark, it's just ominous. Like, this was the Cold War. Back then, I'm sure nobody really knew what was going to happen, like, in the moment at the time. And I think that sense of atmosphere and scale is really comes to the culmination when that nuclear warhead goes off in the atmosphere. We get that red sky that seeps down, everyone ducks for cover, then it revitalizes Godzilla, and then we get to see Godzilla really be angry, and it's great. Like, that scene just always stuck out to me as a kid, that the red sky and just this, it feels apocalyptic. And I think that scene gives enough justification for Godzilla himself to get angry, to finally start destroying stuff, and of course take out the Super X. Because when it comes to Godzilla's portrayal in this film, one thing I always appreciate is that he is a bit more docile. He's not like, I don't think any Godzilla besides GMK and a little bit more in -1 kind of had Godzilla be really angry and like attacking everything, you know? But even 54 is the only one that actually had a long destruction sequence for Godzilla himself as he's attacking all of Tokyo. Like, you really get the feel of destruction minute by minute in that one. And Return doesn't quite do that, and that's okay. Instead, we get a Godzilla he's bigger, he's lumbering, he just wants to get energy to feed himself. But he comes into contact with humanity once again, and this time it's humanity in the mid-80s. The Cold War is a three-way pseudo battle between the Soviets, US, and Japan. Just, you know, the Prime Minister is great in this film. He's a baller. And then Godzilla himself, like I say, is more docile. But then we get to the part after the Super X where it first puts him to sleep, and then he gets revitalized by the nuclear warhead. That scene, the lightning hitting Godzilla's dorsal plates, and his eye wakes up, and then he roars, and then that's when everything finally starts getting blown to smithereens, and it's beautiful. Like, Godzilla, when he gets angry, he's going to get angry, and he's going to show you who's boss. And I love that both Hashimoto and the special effects director, my guy Nakano, they brought Nakano back. And you know, when Nakano's back, everything's going to get blown up, and it's beautiful. Because Nakano also did Terror of Mechagodzilla and other Showa films, so I love it when he does explosions, and we get that in galore here. When Godzilla's tearing down all these skyscrapers that are bigger than him, because it doesn't matter if something's bigger than Godzilla, he's still going to take it down. And that scene where the Super X is on the ground, and he looks at it, he could have hit it once again with his atomic breath, but instead Godzilla sees the skyscraper and just decides to slam it onto the Super X. That's amazing. It's this exact shot right here. Like, that is like peak Godzilla. And also, in addition to the score, we also got a nice bit of 80s themes, such as the ending theme, which I believe is Goodbye Godzilla by the Star Sisters. Like, yeah, it may be a bit cheesy to you guys these days, but for me, I love it. I love a good tie-in movie song that really rounds off the film. And, you know, when you're sitting in the theater, or I guess sitting at your home, when you hear that tie-in song playing, sometimes it just makes the experience that much richer. And I love that this film, for all the more serious it tries to make Godzilla, it still allows a bit of levity, because we're human. I like hearing that, like, pop song, because sometimes it's like, when you're having a really rough day, you just need, like, that nice song to hear, to kind of, you know, hope you get some sleep for the night. That's what I think. And it kind of fits, since Godzilla he went on a big rampage, humanity was the one that provoked him, and then we had to seal him in a volcano. Like, the mix of that sweeping final score, the da 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 da, as Prime Minister and Professor Hayashida, or in the 85K, you also get my man Raymond Burr in there as well. Any of those guys, as a score, pans in on them, their expressions, nobody's celebrating that Godzilla got defeated, and that's the key part. It's tragic. And even though he may just be sealed away and he's going to return later, I like that we get that sweeping, sad score, then it ties into that pop song. I think that's amazing. And we also get another pop song in this film, sung by the actress who plays Naoko Okamura, the sister to the brother. And her pop song plays in the beginning on the yacht when Goromaki's out to sea. I thought that song always stuck out to me as a kid too. And I think he even had one of those, like, I forgot, but I think I may have had, like, an older, like, bootleg of the soundtrack as a kid. I can't remember, but I remember that song was also on there, in addition to the final song of the film. So we had both of those 80s tracks played in this film. I think it adds to the atmosphere of this being the 80s, and I love it. And speaking of the brother Okamura character, I just realized this time that he was played by Shin Takuma. And if you know Shin Takuma, he also played the father in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, and he played another father in 2021's Ultraman Trigger. So it was cool seeing him here, but much younger. Like, it's always love it when they have recurring actors in these films. And there's also quite a few Showa actors making cameos in this film as well. Like, just overall, this film, Return of Godzilla, I know I just gushed about it, but I hope people just appreciate it as being another legendary standalone Godzilla film. That, of course, it should stand on the lines of other Godzilla films. And if you see in my other takes on this channel when it comes to Godzilla, I really think that the human cast in these films should be more appreciated. And additionally, to just the portrayals of Godzilla himself, the times he's made, like, these are time capsules, and that's great. Like, they show how Godzilla's not only evolved, but just the longevity of himself, and that, like, if there's one thing you should take away from me, there are so many more great Godzilla films that are genuine masterpieces like this one that are not 54 or -1. There's so many other Godzilla films out there, and there's so many I will glaze about all day, for good reason too. And Return of Godzilla is one of them. Like, this film is incredible. The action, the way it ties into real life events of the Cold War, the atmosphere, the score, the tie-in songs, the way the characters help drive the plot just enough, and then they help you get enveloped in all the Godzilla scenes. Like, that scale is amazing. I know I keep going back to it, but the way Godzilla is portrayed and all the way the crowds flee from him as he gets back up, I mean, it's amazing. He even attacks a train in this one. There you go. Like, I love this film, and happy 40th anniversary to Return of Godzilla and Godzilla 85. And just let me know in the comments what you think of Return of Godzilla. Do you think it deserves more attention along the likes of recent Godzilla media? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And thank you for watching. I've been Tiger Drop Films, and if you want more tokusatsu content, whether it's Godzilla or Ultraman, then check out me and my buddies' podcast, G-Force, a kaiju podcast. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.